Hey, what's up, guys? It's Apollo Uchiha here, back with another part of What If Naruto Was Raised by the Sannins, and I have already uploaded the next part of What If Naruto Was Turned into a Girl. If you haven't checked that out, please check that out as well. And if you haven't, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And without further ado, let's begin our story. The Sannins returned to Konoha was like they left, under the covers of darkness. Anko was not impressed. The now 12-year-old glared at the villagers that saw them, and once they saw Naruto's whiskers, they would glare at her little brother. They entered the Hokage Tower, Tsunade carrying Naruto now after a villager hit him. Said villager will forever be eating food through an IV and using adult diapers to go to the bathroom. After the three Sannins had destroyed the idiot, while Anko and Shizune comforted the blonde who sported a red slap imprint. Ambu in the tower got out of the Sannin's way rather quickly. It could have been the look on their faces. It could have been Sarutobi left strict orders that his former students were allowed access without restrictions. We'll go with the option of the amount of killing intent emitting from Tsunade as she stormed up the stairs, the blonde in her arms with the others a step behind her. "You can't," is as far as the secretary got in trying to stop the Sannin from entering the office before Tsunade kicked, totally disintegrating the door, and she continued on without slowing. He was in Sarutobi's side, looking from the ruined door pieces on his desk to the door as Tsunade stormed in. "Hello, Tsunade. And Naruto, my, you've grown since I've last seen you." Tsunade growled, causing him to pause. "I don't think we're going to be staying here, Sensei." Saruto blinked. "What? Why?" Orochimaru entered with Anko, simply because several villagers tried to harm Naruto the moment we entered, mistaking him for the QB again. After all these years, Sarutobi looked at the two children in panic and saw Anko glaring at him while she rubbed a hand up and down her brother's back. "You told them?" "Of course we told them," Tsunade said as she continued to hold Naruto. "I will not lie to my son. Keeping him ignorant of what he holds would have been foolish." Jiraiya entered lastly. He created a repair seal and the door returned to its original position and locked it. "Your villagers are gathering out there. They want to kill some demon." He looked at his sensei and the third saw there was no humor in those his students' eyes. Jiraiya was serious and pissed off. "If this is how the village treats him after all these years, then Sarutobi sensei, I'm afraid we shall withdraw from here and raise our children elsewhere," Tsunade said. Orochimaru placed a hand on Anko's shoulder. "We had believed that with all these years away, things would have died down somewhat." His prodigal student looked at him, seeking answers for the unasked questions. Sarutobi sighed and he felt his ears weighing on him. "The council spread the word that you three took Naruto away. They also passed on what he contained. I made a law forbidding the knowledge of being spoken Naruto's generation. Sadly, many people didn't see him as the jailer, but as what he holds." "Fools," Shira said. "They can't even honor Minato's wish." Sarutobi lowered his eyes. "Kakashi has been very vocal in my discussions with him. He still believes that Naruto—" He looked at the boy, blue eyes looking at him. "We're leaving," Tsunade said. "I will not raise him in this hostile environment. We were better off in Suna. Hell, even Eva treated him better." Orochimaru remembered their time in Eva. Jiraiya had been on pins and needles, worried that an Eva Nin would notice the resemblance to Minato, but none of them did. The Kage of Eva had been pleased to have the legendary Sannins working for him for time, and the three Sannin watched as Naruto wrapped the man around his fingers. When they left, Naruto had been offered a place in the academy, and the Kage had left a scroll of low-level jutsus for him to learn. Anko too had made friends in their time there, and the three Sannin had already nearly accepted settling there as well. Sooner had been an adventure. Jiraiya found the Kazekage's sun seal on their second day there when the boy had tried to kill them. After fixing the seal, and the boy Gaara had been allowed to sleep, he and Naruto became best friends, and for 2 months had been inseparable. Naruto had sent letters back and forth with the Kazekage's youngest son since then. "You don't mean that," Sarutobi said, panic settling in with the thought of the Sannins joining another village. "No," Tsunade said, and Sarutobi relaxed. She shot Orochimaru a look, and the dark-haired Sannin nodded. "In our travels, we rescued many nins and civilians. We set up a hidden village, and we talked about if things didn't work out here, we'd head there." Sarutobi looked panicked now. "What do you mean?" "You helped make a hidden village? None of our reports have been ever hinted at one. The three sons exchanged a look. It wouldn't have been hidden if everyone knew about it. We have let the court of lords know, Chira said from near the door. Sardobi was shocked. Our children will not be raised surrounded by hatred, Sensei. Tsunade said, her eyes drifting towards Naruto and Anko. It was apparent the moment we walked in the gates, Naruto will never be accepted here. Sardobi was going to respond and the door opened. Chiraya moved further into the room as three members of council backed by Root Anbu entered the room. Good, you brought it. The first member of the council spoke. Hand the demon over and we shall dispose of it. Tsunade put Naruto down next to Anko. You lose your mind with your arm, Danzo? She asked. Tsunade, will you learn your place? The council has ordered the death of the QB to protect Konoha. The fools, Chiraya butted in. You see the content of a bowl and not the ramen inside. Sannin, stand down and allow the demon to be taken. Orochimaru drew grass-cutter and stepped in front of the children. I don't think so. Naruto is family. And I will kill the man or woman who touches him. And I'll kill the second, Chiraya said, a Rasengan in each hand. His eyes showing a seriousness they only saw on the face of third Hokage. And I'll crush the council with my bare hands if I have to, Tsunade said, cracking her knuckles. It was then the Sardobi realized someone was missing. Shizune, he thought. Said Konoichi appeared behind Danzo, the chakra scalpel in her hands pressed to his neck. But now, know this, Councilman Danzo. It won't matter who started it, you'll die first. If you think I'll let you anywhere near the precious little boy who calls me his aunt. The room was tense. Sardobi was trying to figure out how to salvage this and keep the Sannins loyal to Konoha, and Naruto out of the council's control. There was no way he could see that wouldn't end in disaster. Fools doing this. They will ensure the Sannin turn on Konoha. Kill me, girl, and there will be no place in the world for you to hide, Danzo said, but he wisely didn't move. The Root Anbu with them tensed. Their precious leader was in danger, and they knew they couldn't get to her before she slit her throat open. Dad and the three Sannin in the room would tear them apart like a tissue paper. Sardobi, have your students stand down this instant, Hamura said, looking at the Hokage. Orochimaru snorted. The council members have gotten very bold ordering the Hokage about. He looked at his sensei. They forgot who is in power in Konoha. They are here to make your job easier, not to rule. Sardobi sighed. He allowed things to go on like this for far too long, and now the council had consolidated power enough to rival his in control of the city. Uncle? Naruto said. The Sannin looked at the young blonde boy. Yes, Naruto? Are these men like those we met before? Orochimaru said. Yes and no. Yes, they are fools. No, they are not a threat, he finally said. His eyes turned towards the councilmen and the Root Anbu. If they try to harm you, remember what we taught you and Uncle. Naruto nodded, and the council member watched as the boy and teenage girl pulled out a pair of kunais. Remember, they come at you, kill them without mercy, Orochimaru said. Tsunade tensed. Now how is this going to play out? Amura and Koharu exchanged the look if Danzo that made the day worse. Kill them! Kill them all! He ordered, his Anbu snapping his head back and into Shizune, forcing her to release his hold. He slipped from the room. Root Anbu! To me! Kill the demon child! Kill the Sannin! Sardobi cursed while tossing aside his robes and hat. This just isn't my day, he thought as he went to battle. Chapter 6. Sardobi palm strike connected, and he wished that the day would have been like this. He made a decision, and he would live with it for the rest of his life. The Root Anbu collapsed, and the professor entered the battle on the side of the students. When one got close to the children, the third Hokage killing intent stopped the battle cold as his kick sent the idiot out of the window. Anbu, he roared, and a dozen Anbu appeared. Seize all Root members, arrest council member Danzo alongside with Hamura and Koharu here. I want all members of the council members in half an hour. Those that resist will be considered brought up on treason and executed. Sardobi looked at his three students. His eyes softened, seeing Tsunade on her knees in front of Naruto, checking for any woundings. Finding none, she pulled him into a bones-crushing hug. Kazan, air! The blonde said as Anko next to him was chuckling until Orochimaru did the exact same thing. I'm too old for this, Anko roared, but Sardobi noted that she wasn't putting up a struggle. His gaze went to Jiraiya, who looked at Tsunade and Orochimaru, who nodded, and he turned his attention back to the floor where Hamura was under his foot. They check the children and will do anything to protect them first and foremost. Now, you old fossil, you threatened our children. You and the old farts like you have a grudge against a child that has never done you wrong. His father sealed the nine tails in him to save this goddamn village, but I can tell you right now, Minato would regret his sacrifice seeing how you bastards act. Both Sarutobi and the town council members' eyes widened as Jiraiya spoke open-mindedly the nine tails and the boy's parentage. Sarutobi looked at the boys to see his reaction, but saw none. They told him what happened that night, who his parents are, but... Haruto-san, what did Uncle Orochi tell you about playing with stupid people? Naruto asked from Tsunade's arm. He called them mom, dad, and uncle. Sarutobi thought watching them things unfold before him. Naruto smiled as Jiraiya smiled at the boy. Not to play around with people dumber than yourself, as they might get lucky. Orochimaru snorted. Dope, there aren't people dumber than you. Up yours, Orochiteme, Jiraiya said, putting more pressure on the old man's chest. I'm trying to think of one reason not to take a Rasengan to you and put you in your place 6 feet under the ground. Sarutobi coughed. All three Sannin looked at him. I would prefer that you don't kill him unnecessarily. I need to find out how far this power play goes. Jiraiya nodded. The damn council. Tsunade stood the blonde boy in her arms. We're leaving, Shizune. I'm okay, Lady Tsunade. I'm sorry Danzo got away. Tsunade waved it off. He's a cockroach. The man can be at ground zero of the QB rampage and only got a scratch. It's not your fault. Orochimaru looked at Sarutobi. We shall be leaving Konoha, and from this day forth, we shall not be allied with it. Sarutobi watched as all three Sannins removed their leaf itate and placed them on the desk. Shizune never had been a ninja of Konoha, and she followed the Sannin from the office. Sarutobi winced. He'd read the doctor reports that Danzo and his root had made. They claimed that they found experiments in Orochimaru's lab under the Sannin's home. Sarutobi had laughed and told them that the Sannin haven't been in Konoha for some time. He then had Ibiki search, and mysteriously several wealthy people fled Konoha, the Yukoshi clan being amongst them. Sarutobi should never have allowed the council to gain the amount of power he had, and now if he ever wanted the Sannin to return, he would have to clean it up all. Everything over the last several years. I hate this job. Sarutobi, as he watched the legendary three walk from his office, three strange, tight-knit little family with them. They never looked back. Link break. Tsunade held Naruto as they passed the market town, never once slowing down. She was pissed beyond reason that the old bastards would try that. Kasan? Naruto said softly, drawing her gaze enough to know that she was listening. Are we going back to Konoha? He asked. No, Naruto, she said. We'll take up residence in that little village we set up in Vice. Your uncle will be the Kage. A snort from Jiraiya earned him a slap on the back on the head from Orochimaru, who had Anko on his back. Stow it, dope. Unless you want to be the Hokage. Jiraiya's eyes widened. Oh, hell no. I hate the sheer thought of all that paperwork. Shizune was quiet. But what will we call that village? The Hidden Sound. Orochimaru said. We found several nomadic ninja and samurais, along with villagers who want something better. Naruto looked at Orochimaru, who continued as they raced further away from Konoha. Many people do not like many of the rules and laws that the ruling families in many villages pass to support themselves. We set up this new village so that no laws favor anyone's. The Hokage and the Sound will be the one and only law. There will be no council. Ninja will be trained, not favoritism will be shown, like there has been in Konoha and several of the other villages we passed through over the years. Naruto was thinking. It was Anko who spoke. Who's going to teach? She asked. Well, Tsunade and Shizune set up a hospital there, and I run the Kage office. Erobaka here will be teaching and helping the academy. Both children smiled and looked on Jiraiya's face. Me? I can't teach. Only until we have more stable ninja forces, Tsunade said. Many of the ninjas we've talked to that are missing are those that were betrayed and fled, or were disillusioned with the system. I'm sure that we'll find a suitable teacher amongst them. Jiraiya nodded. Or freaks. What he means by that, Kasan? Naruto asked. Tsunade sighed. He means people that are a stranger than him. Naruto's eyes got wide. Is that possible? That brought a laugh to the other groups as they continued to flee. They passed through the Valley of the End and out of the Fire Country, not to be seen there for many years to come. Link break. Konoha. No trace of them, my lord. Inu asked. Anbu reported. What happened? Sort sighed. Danzo and his conspirators made a power play and it backfired. The sannin have abandoned Konoha with the daimyo's permission. He said, they along with Naruto have left our country and are going to make a new hidden village. The Anbu's body laughed, language screamed disbelief. Danzo and his root tried to kill the adopted son of the sannin. They took it like any parent would. Inu sighed. We captured 47 members of the root. However, Danzo has yet to be found along with 4 members of his inner circle. Sarutobi cursed under his breath. Put the word out. Danzo and his root are to be captured or killed on sight. Anything else? We lost sight of missing Rin Inuzuka. The masked ninja said. His words hesitated as if it hurt to say them. Where? Near the border. The Chunin that saw her were knocked out. On injuries like every other encounter, Inu said. The Yokage side dismissed. This is not good. Danzo's out there with the 4 of highest operator. Were lost 3 Kage level warriors due to the stupidity of the council, and Minato's 3rd student still hasn't been brought in. He pulled out his pipe and puffed on it. I am not looking forward to the Council of Kages in 3 weeks. Link break. Unknown mountain range. Report, a deep voice reported. Nata stepped forward, the shadow, and went to kneel. I was unable to retrieve the QB, my master. It is bound to a mortal child by some seal on his belly. The figure made a shadow and smoke snarled. Then bring me the child. The barrier must fall. I am doing what I can, master, but I lost him after my encounter. It's like the boy knows how to mask his signature. Then find the other 8. I will send my emissionary when you have the other 8. Should I confront the QB container again, master? Nata asked. No. Leave it free for now. Allow it to grow in power. It will make taking over this realm so much more sweet. What of the elder gods? Nata asked. They know nothing for now. We must be careful. The last thing we need is for one of them to become involved. The shadow forms shifted. For now, leave the QB child free. When the time comes, we shall take him and crush him. By your command, Nata said as on his knees, his head down. I will send you soul collectors. You will use them to harvest the other 8. Do not fail me in this, Nata. I will not fail you, my lord. The shadow figure vanished and Nata was alone. I will do as you command, master. Naruto Uzumaki, when the time comes, I shall release terror, tearing the QB from you and seeing your eyes as the life leaves your pathetic shell. Chapter 7. Naruto's 13th birthday was a sight to behold. All of the Oto had been invited to the top rookie's birthday bonanza. Otokage Orochimaru smiled at his nephew as village-wide games were taking place, from simple events that civilians could partake in the challenges that even tested the greatest shonen amongst them. Otogakure had grown over the last several years. The hidden village was beneath a small farming village that was nested in a valley that was very difficult to get to unless you knew the safe paths. Anko was thriving in Oto as well. She made jonin right before her 18th birthday and told the family in no uncertain terms she was going to be Naruto's jonin instructor and she'd hamstring any other candidates. Over the past couple years since leaving Konoha for the second time, there had been several attempts on Naruto's life by mercenaries hired by Danzo secretly, and the Sannins felt it was allowed by the Council of Konoha behind their backs, or former teachers' backs to be precise, so they blamed the village hidden in the leaves even more. Chirapa's year as a teacher had gone surprisingly smooth, and after Tsunade had been beaten him for hitting on the older students, the hospital was the best ever. And Shizune and Tsunade smiled as Orochimaru took their advice and made sure that the teams all had basic medical training, and there was one qualified medic on each team. Naruto ninja career had been difficult at first as he was not used to sharing the attention of his family, but after some discussing with his cousin and sister, he soon got over it, meaning they caught him pouting and put him to the grindstone of Tsunade's training course that left Jiraiya a glacial pool on the floor, and a spar with Anko that, while Naruto had done well, showed that his sister was a mite unstable. Unstable was Naruto's way of saying his sister was slightly insane, and who would blame her? It's happened on Uncle's 15th birthday. Flashback. Come on! Naruto shouted to his sister as they raced around the forest around Otto's farmlands. The pair had snuck out and were playing a game of tag with kunais. The blonde youth smiled as they enjoyed this. It was not only a game for them, but a training exercise. One would chase the other with kunai and shurikens till they got tagged, meaning one of the sharp instruments was lodged in them. Then they would heal up, and then the other would begin the chase. They never did this around their mother or aunt. They knew the fireworks would make what Aeropop did seem tame. You suck, brat, Uncle said, sending a volley. All missed but left a nice outline in the tree with Naruto had been. I'll get you, Naruto-chan, Uncle yelled. You couldn't catch a man if you had boobs, Uncle-chan. Naruto yelled back and dove towards the ground, avoiding the shuriken barrage that would have engulfed his head. He laughed and looked over his shoulder to find his sister when he slammed into something, or more to the point, someone. He looked up. Hello, the silver-haired man who we call Elder Yakushi reached down and grabbed a handful of Naruto's hair and hoisted him into the air. Well, look we have here. We escaped Konoha for our medical experiments, and we still managed to run into the damn demon brat. Otto, a boy, Uncle aged, said, adjusting his glasses. Shouldn't we let him go? Let him go, Kabuto. You are as weak-willed as your mother was. The man said, we kill him and present him to the mysterious Otokage and will ensure our place in the Sound Village. Let my brother go. Uncle yelled, descending from above. Our kick connected with the man's head, sending him flying, and he dropped Naruto. Uncle, run! Get Uncle and Aeropop! Naruto said as he tackled another elder. Uncle was caught from behind. The boy Kabuto kicked one. Let them go. She's wearing a sound headband. He was backhanded for his efforts from his own father. He rolled. Naruto looked at him. Get help! The farm nearby. Tell Chichi-sama. Kabuto raced off. His mother's dying words had been for him not to end up like his father, but he's been dragged along when they fled Konoha for his elders having him caught experimenting on civilians and ninja alike. He knew his father had killed her, and he wanted to be part of a new village. He wanted to feel safe. His legs pushed him on. Naruto was bound and gagged as the Yakushi men held Uncle. Well, look at what we got here. Aren't you a sweet little thing? The elder said as he stroked her cheek. Uncle spit at him, which caused him to look back at her, spirited. What do you say, brothers? We have a taste of this young thing before we kill us as a demon. The other two men chuckled and nodded their consent. Uncle struggled and tried to fight back off as all of her clothes were ripped away from her link break. Orochimaru ran Tsunade with young Kabuto found a naked and gore-covered Uncle sobbing while rocking an unconscious Naruto. The remains of the Yakushi men were littered the clearing. Naruto had not a drop of mark on him. By Uncle's leg were a pair of blood-soaked kunais. And as they got closer, they heard her humming. Her eyes weren't tears-filled as they thought. They were glazing over. End of the flashback. Naruto and Uncle never spoke of it, but their bonds as siblings were tighter, and the other one's was never far from the other. They both took to their training like crazy, surpassing every exception. Back to Naruto's 13th birthday. Friends, Orochimaru said, quieting the gathering of people. Nearly everyone in the village. We are gathered here today to celebrate the 13th birthday of my nephew Naruto here. Cheers rang out as yells of happy birthday Naruto, causing the blonde to blush. Many of the girls his age in the academy thought the whisker marks were exotic, and his slender build had many of them chasing him. Not that they could get close with Uncle on the lookout for cheap hussies, as she called them, but Naruto did have several friends his age. Yes, happy birthday Naruto indeed. Now as Otokage, I need to speak on some things, and I beg Naruto's forgiveness for speaking about serious things on the birthday that should be filled with happiness. Blue's eyes looked at him, and a fox grin told the Kage that it was fine. I want to thank our allies and friends from Suna for being here. Cheers went up, and Gaara, who was next to Naruto, bowed his head. The pair had been friends for years, and Gaara's father was always happy to unload his children onto Otto to the point where they were going to be staying permanently here. Naruto put a hand on his friend's shoulder. Ever since Jiraiya fixed the red head seal, he was able to sleep and manipulate the power of the one-tailed demon he possessed, much like Naruto was now able to do with Kyuubi. I also want to inform you all that in the weeks coming, we will be traveling to Konohagakure for the Chunin exams. A mixture of boos and cheers met the announcement. I know, but the daimyo has requested we should show our skills, therefore I selected several teams. He put a hand on his nephew's shoulder. I am sure you all know that while in Konoha I wanted the guards on their top form. Konoha is a foolish to believe my nephew is the Kyuubi that he holds. Boos met this as Naruto bowed his head. Gaara put a hand on his friend's shoulder. They had a bond deeper than brotherhood, as they understood one another in a way that no one else could. Team selection and placements will take place tomorrow, and we'll begin our journey while I'm gone. Lord Orochimaru, a voice called out. You can't leave. What about us? Who will going to be govern us? Orochimaru smiled as several others protested, putting himself in danger. I thank you all for the concern, but I cannot allow our Genin nor my family to return to a place that means them harm without being able to protect them. While I am gone, I will leave Zabuza here in command. The former swordsman of the mist had been found in Wave, near death after a confrontation with Konoha ninja. His ward Haku had been near death as well, and it had been taken a lot of Tsunade's skill to pull them both through. After saving their lives, the two joined up with the Sannins and Oto. Zabuza swore a blood oath to protect the Sannin and their family and do as they commanded to his dying breath. Haku, they found out, had been a year older than Naruto, posing as a boy and a hunter for mist. Naruto looked around and found the pair both nearby and protective even here in the hidden sound. Now enough talks of serious matter. I do believe there is cake and presents, Orochimaru said with a smile as six ninja came out carrying a cake that was huge, and even then they were struggling with the multi-layered cake. Happy birthday, Naru, Orochimaru said, kneeling before his adopted nephew and hugging him. Thank you, uncle. Naruto said, not embarrassed like mostly kids his age would be at the affection shown by the others. He loved it when his family hugged him. It made him feel safe, secure, and loved. Your mother, Tabaka, and I have special gifts for you, Orochimaru said as the other two Sannin approached. We didn't have to, Naruto said, but Tsunade placed a finger to his lips. You always say that, Brad. We wish we could have given you so much more over the years. You gave me everything I ever needed, Kasan. Maybe more than enough, Naruto said and was pulled into his mother's ample chest as she hugged him tightly. Kaki is the luckiest man on earth, Jiraiya muttered. Orochimaru snorted and agreed. He is a heartbreaker. The snake Sannin agreed. Both men chuckled, remembering the Konoichi battle royale that paid several days back that involved several women of various ages. Anko had been there trying to beat it into their heads to stay away from her brother. Sadly, arrayed against her were Tamari, formerly of Suna, who had liked the blonde since the first day she met her. Haku, who had taken a liking to the blonde, who had checked on her during her time in the hospital after she be rescued, and he'd brought her flowers, food, and would talk with her about her dreams of becoming a magic nin. Then there was Kin, a girl in Naruto's class, and Tayuya, who was Anko's age and one of Orochimaru's personal guards in the Five Sound. Jiraiya had watched the brawl from start to finish and told his teammates about how violent and possessive they all were. Anko had returned home and an hour later limping and cursing about redheads, hordes who bite, and stupid sand bitches that weren't good enough for him or her brother. She had ignored the adults who laughed as they saw her backside looked like a... I don't know what to say this, and they knew Haku and Kin were the cause, as some of the Sanborn had belts and some were covered with a thin frost. Shaking themselves, they saw Tsunade had finally realized the boy had enough of it because he couldn't breathe, as Shizune scolded her mentor for smothering Naruto-kun again. As we were saying, Naru, Orochimaru said, looking in the boy's eye, we have a gift for you from the three of us. It's very special, and with the danger of the coming Chunin exams, we each would feel better knowing you have this. He snapped his fingers and Kabuto appeared with a scroll on a velvet pillow. The last Yakushi was loyal to Orochimaru and his family for taking him in after the fall of his last family. Naruto liked him, but didn't think he was worth his sister's attention, which resulted in several pranks that, while funny, had him dodging his sister's kunai collection, which now had climbed into 4 digits. Where the hell does she keep them? Many wondered, but Anko never told that her Aeropop had placed seals on her wrist, where she stored them, and they would return to with but a thought. Happy birthday, Naruto-kun. Kabuto said with a smile, "Thanks, Kabuto, and stay away from my sister, please," he added, causing the adults to smile and the silver-haired medic to blush. Anko bopped her brother on the head. "Stay out of this, brat," she muttered. Orochimaru knew this could dissolve into a very messy and bloody game again, so he pulled the attention back. "The three of us have gotten you a very special contract, Narcon," Orochimaru said to get the blonde attention on him. "As you know, your mother, the Baka, and I each hold a summoning contract. Your mother with the slugs, the pervert with the toads, and I with the snakes, which your sister has signed as well." Naruto looked at his sister and smiled. He knew she had wanted to do that since they were little, and she got him to ride on Manda, who had dropped his disguise of wanting offerings when the two children had found a very sensitive spot that no matter what he did, he could never itch, even when he shed, and they had scratched it, making the giant serpent purr, and stunned the three sannins at seeing the snake melt under their little hands. "This is your personal contract, Naruto. No one has signed it. It was made by the great sage Senzo." Naruto looked up at this. He remembered the blonde monk who had passed through Oto with the three very strange friends. Naruto had liked his son Goku. Naruto's outfit was based off his. "After studying your seal, he made you a contract with the foxes. Not the kitsune like the Kyuubi, but with the foxes, which are different," Orochimaru said, seeing the boy's eyes widen at first. "So you won't summon the Kyuubi? The foxes are like the toads and other summons you've met." Tsunade put a comforting hand on her adopted son's shoulder. "Sanzo was very careful after he saw your nightmare." Naruto looked down. A nightmare demon had slipped into Oto and had lashed on to the blonde, feasting on him for days. Sanzo and his companions had arrived, and after dispelling the demon, they had set up wards around the village and had stayed for a month after. Naruto was ashamed of his nightmares, in which the Kyuubi had either broke free, killing everyone he loved or cared about, or the worst one was Naruto had been possessed by the Kyuubi and had done killing, raping, and pillage of himself. It had prompted the secondary seal from Jiraiya to ensure him a peaceful night after that, as Naruto had taken to become an insomniac, fearing that if he slept the Kyuubi would take free. It had been heartbreaking for the three Sannin, and they assured him it couldn't happen. "Thank you, Uncle Kasan, pervert," he said, hugging each. Jiraiya had his protest of being called a simple pervert, but a head bob from Tsunade shut him up quickly. "You remember the hand seals?" Tsunade asked her son, who nodded. He memorized them when he was younger and was going to copy his mother's summoning, but they'd stop him, saying he was too young and couldn't seriously hurt himself or get himself killed if he summoned a creature beyond his chakra ability, as it could drain him in one go and kill him. They didn't worry about him running out of chakra, but they thought he could damage his young coils if he did manage a summon at a young age. "Then let's go." The three Sannin led Naruto through the crowd, and once they were above and outside the farming village, the rest of the guests followed. They nodded. The three Sannin and Anko went through the signs, and puff of smoke later, Katsuyu the slug, Gamabunta the toad sage, and Manda the snake, along with the maid Koda. Naruto looked at them and gulped. His hands were in motion, and he finished it. He slammed his palm onto the ground. Summoning Jutsu. A huge puff of smoke appeared, just as big as the others. Naruto gulped as behind him the citizens and ninjas of Otogakure were stunned. As this is where I'm going to be leaving this part of, guys. I hope you like this one, and if you like this, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And this is Apollo Uchiha, and I'm signing out. Peace.